Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulih al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi al-Jama'een. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل وبارك على عبد الله ورسوله من اتبع سنته إلى قيام الساعة ثم أما بعد. This is the second night, the return of what we gave about 3 years ago, titled Muqbil night. And this is the night where I chose about 4 years ago to mention some of the teachings, some of the fiqh, understanding, some of the application of the Imam al-Muhaddith, al-Mujaddid, al-Faqih, al-Diyar Yamaniya, وهو أبي عبد الرحمن مقبل ibn Hadi al-Wadiyu min Ali Hamdan from Ahl al-Dammaj rahimahullah ta'ala, which was in the province of Sa'ada in the north of Yemen. A small village called Dammaj, which was in the province of Sa'ada in the north of Yemen. He was the Imam of the Sunnah during our time, meaning he revived the Sunnah, rahimahullah ta'ala, its teachings, its aqidah, its belief system, its methodology, sticking to the text, following the way of the Prophet, the Sahaba, tabi'een, tabi'een, following the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, as the Shaikh used to say, ala faham as-salaf as-salih, upon the understanding of those first 3 generations. And the Shaykh, mashallah, tabarakallah, Allah blessed him to have people from all over the world sit with him, either directly or indirectly through his students, that many of them became big scholars throughout the world. The Shaykh, he died, rahimahullah ta'ala, in the year 1421 of Hijri, 1421 on the Hijri calendar, 1,421 years after the death of the Prophet, which is equivalent to 2001 on our calendar. He died the same year as Al-Imam al-Faqih, Al-Alim al-Bani, Muhammad Salih al-Uthaymeen. He died months apart. وَنَسَلَ اللَّهَ أَنْ يَرْحَمَهُمَا وَيَسْكَنَّهُمَا الْجَنَّةَ الْفِرْدَوْسِ الْأَعْلَى. We ask the Lord to give them both a high, lofty place in the paradise. وَيُجْزِيهُمَا عَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ وَالْمُسْلِمِينَ, and bless them for their contribution towards Islam and the Muslims. So the Shaykh, Imam Muqbil rahimahullah, Allah Azza wa Jal blessed many people to study with him, benefit from him. His students that became scholars lived there in Yemen, and he's from amongst our teachers. Myself, I was actually there with the Shaykh in 1999. And Shaykh, mashallah, tabarakallah, Allah Azza wa Jal knows best, is one of the most humble, knowledgeable, serious carriers of the Quran and the Sunnah during his life. And as a legacy of the Shaykh, as a right that the Shaykh has upon his students, as a appreciation from myself to the Shaykh, then from the adab, the mannerisms that the student should have with the Shaykh, is to try to practice what he learned from the Shaykh and to spread the teachings of the Shaykh. So this is my aim, my intention for actually teaching some of the legacy of the contributions to teachings, the fiqh, the understanding, the application of the Imam Muqbil, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me sincerity in that, not to be doing it for fame or showing off or anything like that, and to give me truthfulness in that which I say that I do from the teachings as best as I can, and to make it a benefit for the people. I mean, tonight we want to talk about 3 issues briefly, inshallah. I'm going to just mention what the Shaikh himself said. I may fill in something here or there from what I know from the Shaikh himself that's from other statements and segments that relative. But they're all in the issue and under the umbrella of marriage. All of them, the issue and under the umbrella of az-zawaj, marriage. One of them is related to the question was asked to the Shaykh: is it permissible for a man to marry a Jew or a Christian? Is it permissible for a man to marry a Jew or a Christian woman? That's one question, and the Shaykh has his answer and his benefits for that. The next question we take tonight: a man marries a lady and he finds that she does not have alamatul bakara. She does not have the mark or the sign of virginity. So, what happens if the man marries somebody like this? How does he treat it? What does he do, etc.? Then the third thing, is it permissible for a Muslim man to marry a female Jinn? And vice versa, is it permissible for a female Muslimah to marry a man Jinn? These are the 3 issues that we will mention tonight from the fiqh of Imam al-Wadi'u, which is his tribe. Wadi'u is his tribe, from the teachers of Abi Abdurrahman, his nickname, and his name Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi'u, we said, from the tribe of al-Wadi'u. The first one, a Shaykh was asked, يجوز للرجل أن يتزوج من يعني يهودية ونصرانية? Is it permissible for a man to marry from the Jew and Christian women? The Shaykh said, "Naam, Jews. It's permissible. It is Jews. Jews here means it's okay. From the word ja is allowed, like you say, jawaz as safar, your passport. So you have port. From airport to airport, you have a pass. We allow you to go. So the word jawaz. Here, jawaz, Jews, it is allowed, meaning it's okay. And the Shaykh said, يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم. The first thing the Shaykh quotes often is the book of Allah. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this case in Surah Al-Ma'idah when he said, يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا, that the people, they ask you, يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا أُحِلُّ لَهُمْ. They ask you, O Muhammad, what is lawful for them? قُلْ أُحِلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Say, what is lawful for you are the good things. Now, that's the ayah before. The ayah after that, Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, he said, the Shaykh, he said, اليوم يعني أحل لكم الطيبات. This day, all good things have been made lawful for you. So this lawful, yani, also another way of saying okay. أحل, made lawful, also another way of saying that is yani the Jews, jaiz, it's okay. يوم أحل لكم الطيبات. This day, all lawful things have been okayed for you from the good things. وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. And the food from the people of the book has been made okay, lawful for you. وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ, and your food has been made lawful for them. وَالْمُحْصِنَاتِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, and the believing women from the Muslims. وَالْمُحْصِنَاتِ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ, and those believing women, chaste women from amongst the people of the book. So the Shaikh used this ayah where Allah mentioned for the man that he could marry not only from the Muslim who is muhsin, meaning she is a chaste woman, meaning she's not a lady who's sleeping around. Alhamdulillah. She's not a woman also who's flirtatious. Alhamdulillah. She's also a woman who's not dressing, showing her body, bare skin or clothes showing the shape is inclusive in the issue of muhsinat. It has to be in these categories. Then Allah mentioned the same for the Christian and the Jew lady who is not promiscuous, she's not sleeping around, she has no character like flirtatious that she's showing, and she's not showing her body parts. Now, from the people Utul Kitab, i.e., Jew and Christian. The Shaikh said, وَقَدْ زَوَّجَ حُذَيْفَةَ امرأة النصرانية, and that Hudayfa, who was a Sahaba, Hudayfa bin Yaman, who the Prophet ﷺ gave the list of the hypocrites. Allah reveals to the Prophet, جُمْلَةً مِنَ الْمُنَافِقِينَ, Alhamdulillah. May Allah protect us from being of the hypocrites. Ameen. Allah revealed it to the Prophet, gave it to Hudayfa. He said, don't tell anybody. This is the list. And if the Prophet would not pray behind the one who's dead, who's a hypocrite, or lead the salat for the one who's a hypocrite, then this will be one way you will know that person must be a hypocrite. But Hudayfa had a list. Also, Hudayfa, the same one that the Prophet ﷺ talked him about al-fitan, the different trials and tribulations. Hudayfa bin Yaman, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, is also the one in the hadith of Bukhari Muslim, where the Prophet said, وَفِيهِ دَخَنْ, that the religion, people will put dakhan, smoke, pollution in the religion. And the Prophet, when he said that, Hudayfa, he said, وَمَا هُوَ دَخَنْ, what is this pollution, the smoke? And he said, قَوْمٌ يَسْتَثْنُونَ بِغَيْرِ سُنَّتِي, people will seek to establish the sunnah, and they will call it sunnah, and they will say it's the practice of the sunnah, بِغَيْرِ سُنَّتِي, but it's not from my way. وَيَحْتَدُونَ بِغَيْرِ هَدِي, and they will seek to guide the people with the guidance is not from my guidance, but they will say it's from the guidance of the Prophet. And then the Prophet said, تَعْرِفُ مِنْهُمْ وَتُنْكِرُ, to get to know who they are and then disapprove of them. This is the hadith of Hudayfa ibn Yaman. Prophet, this Hudayfa, we gave the list of the hypocrites. Hudayfa that he taught about the different tribulations that will happen. And there will be bloodshed and division in the ummah. And the one that he taught about how people will pollute the religion with falsehood and claim it's sunnah and claim it's guidance from the Prophet, but it won't be the guidance of the Prophet or the sunnah. That's what Shaikh on the Muqbil, rahimahullah ta'ala, said. He married a Christian lady. Then he went to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn al-Khattabi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And he said, do you advise me to get rid of this lady, divorce her because she's a Christian? And Umar ibn al-Khattab, Shaykh Muqbil, said, no, don't divorce her, keep her. The Shaykh, he went on, he said, however, Ibn Umar, he used to despise the marrying of such people, the Jews and the Christians. Ibn Umar, one who we know used to practice with the Prophet, so much so he used to walk like the Prophet. That's how much he emulated the Prophet, even walk like him. SubhanAllah. Ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, or radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, Allah pleased him and his father, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Umar ibn al-Khattabi. Ibn Umar, he said, I did not find anything more distasteful from shirk than one who says, Uzair ibn Allah. Uzair is the son of Allah, that's the Jew. Wa Isa al-Masih ibn Allah. And the Messiah is the son of Allah. Therefore, Ibn Umar would not marry from them, although it's permissible. Find some companions and dislike it. Lastly, Shaikh on the Muqbil, rahimahullah ta'ala, may Allah shower mercy upon him, raise him, and put him in the highest level of the Jannah with the prophets and messengers. The true believers, the Abu Bakr Siddiq, those who are the shuhada, who died fighting in his cause, and this also includes those who are ulama, for the lamb, fuqaha, scholars, people of knowledge, dua, ilallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. They are considered in jihad. They are considered fighting against evil spiritually, the preachers of the truth. May Allah make the Shaykh from amongst those in the hereafter. Ameen. The Shaykh, he said, lastly, however, although it's permissible from the book and the sunnah to marry a Jew or a Christian, and some companions disliked it, be aware that those children will not be raised and groomed upon the millah, the way, the deen of that Jewish or Christian lady that you marry. And for this reason, the Shaykh and other talks, I'm adding now from this question the Shaykh was asked in his answer, I'm adding from other talks where the Shaykh talked about this. He said this is one of the reasons why it is, although it is halal, it's okay, it's jaiz to marry a Muslim man to marry a Jew or a Christian woman, it's also makruha, it's disliked. Showing you that things can be lawful but disliked. Why? Because you put your children in a situation where they may be confused. The father's a Muslim, the mother's a Jew or a Christian, so you got Eid and you have Christmas. You have the Tawheed and you have the Shirk. And you have Allahumma, oh Allah, you have oh Jesus. That the children are going to be seen and witnessed may cause confusion. Allahu musta'an. The Shaykh was asked, is it permissible, and we should, before we go to the next question that the Shaykh was asked, and I'm going to bring, we should make sure we understand and remind ourselves that question is only for the Muslim man. Is it permissible for a Muslim man? Is it allowed for a Muslim man to marry a Jewish or a Christian lady? That's again, it's okay. Precautions should be taken, such as the children and which religion they may gravitate towards and be taught from the two parents that are one Muslim and one non-Muslim. And that some companions disliked it because of that reason, while it is still made permissible, lawful by the wisdom and rahmah of Allah. But we should add, it's not for a Muslim man. 2 points we're going to add, and then we'll go to the next question quickly. It's not for a Muslim man to put and yataqaddam al-Nasrani wa Yahud, al-Yahudiyya wa Nasraniyya al-Muslimat. It's not for him to put the Jew and the Christian before the Muslim lady. We find this a lot because of status, because of the white privilege, because of image, because of colonialism, because of racism, because of self-hate, how people feel about themselves, that they would marry a Jew or a Christian. Moreover, she's European before they marry and available. Beautiful physically, inwardly, spiritually, as it relates to, and disposition-wise, this beauty has become the inside first, not just curves and waves. The akhlaq of the person, the mannerisms of the person, the integrity of the person, devotion to Allah from that person. They were married. Before that, a Jew or a Christian, and put that Muslim last if they even have a chance, the Muslim lady. And the Prophet he said, يعني, in the clear hadith, يعني, alayhi salatu wa salam, Tarafat بذات الدين تربت يدك. Nah. And he married, choose the one. And they used to say, may your hands hit the dirt, as a statement, a slogan of you being successful. You have arrived at success. You marry the one who has deen. Here doesn't just mean she's a Muslim and she has a thing on her head. She says, I'm a Muslim. No. The ulama that said the origin of the statement means that person has deen wa khuluq. They are Muslim and they have Muslim character. They are Muslim and they have yani akhlaq, yani fadila, righteous, praiseworthy character. It's in accordance with the book of Allah, the sunnah of His Messenger sallam, and the way of the Ummahat al-Mu'minat. Ummahat yani Naam al-Mu'mineen. Asif al-Mu'minat, Naam al-Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. The mothers of the believers. Now, it's a mistake, the brothers, they put the Jew and the Christian before the Muslim. And we're talking about, again, good Muslims, righteous Muslims, good character, good disposition, devoted, God-fearing. They have mistakes, but they are, Allahu Akbar Kabir, better choices by many ways than a Jew and a Christian. It's not permissible to put the Jew and Christian before that Muslim lady, especially when the Muslim lady wants to get married and there is more need for the Muslim lady to be married to the Muslim man than the Jew and the Christian. And the second point is, Allah Musta'an, it's not permissible for the lady who's a Muslimah. It's not permissible for the lady who's a Muslimah to marry the Jew or the Christian man. You find this a lot in this day and time. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. The Muslim lady said, I'm going to marry this man who is a good man, but he's not a Muslim. He is a Jew or a Christian. And many of them, they said, because the Muslim has a bad character. The Muslim man beats me. He doesn't take care of me. And he's hypocritical. He tells me pray and cover. He doesn't pray. And he doesn't he cover his private parts. He dresses with tight clothes. And he makes the zina and this and that. And he beats me with Allah says and do this and Islam and it's not Islam. So they said the hell with this. I'm going to find me a good, sweet, loving man. وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ يَهُودَ وَالنَّصَارَى أَعْلَمَ اللَّهِ. Even if he be Jew or Christian. And then later on, that man, they may coerce him or force him after a couple of kids, become Muslim, especially if they're what we call foreigners. Because they have to take the paperwork to the embassy in order to get special things for those children who are dual citizens, if they're American in another country, and so forth. Two big points that are common to Allah Musta'an. The Muslim man put in the Jew and Christian lady before the Muslim who's in a good mental, physical state, religious state to be married, and she has value, and she has virtue, and she is from those who are God-fearing. And then the Muslim lady who's marrying the Jew or a Christian. The second question the Shaikh was asked that we want to bring tonight, is it permissible for a Muslim man to marry a female Jinniya? Is it permissible for a Muslim man to marry a female Jinniya, a female Jinn, and vice versa? And can a Muslim lady from the human beings marry a male Jinn? Somebody might say, wow, who would want to do this? But these questions are old. And just like a Jinn man may be in love with a female lady and come and visit her and seduce her and have sex with her at night, or possess her, jump in her and control her body. And just like a female Jinn may come to a man, have relations with him at night, jump in him and possess his body, control his body. question is valid. Yeah, I need question. A man marrying a female, Jinn, Jinniya, and a woman who's a human marrying a man, Jinn. Shaikh, he said, ما منع من هذا ما عندنا منع من هذا. Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah wa ta'ala said, we don't have a clear text to prevent that. Of course, a Muslim man seeking the help of a jinn, whether it be female or male, is shirk. That's prohibited. Asking them to do things, favors, and getting them to help you by doing some evil to a person, that jinn, for you, and then you do some evil to Allah, that's what's considered magic. That's prohibited. Allah's prohibited that. We're talking about a simple relationship. Can a man marry a female jinn, and can a Muslim woman marry a jinn man? The Shaykh, he said there's no clear text to prevent that. He said, as for the statement of Allah wa ta'ala, when he said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, and from the signs that Allah exists, أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا, that He has created for you from yourselves mates. He said, then this shows you it's better that you marry from your own species, that the human marry the human, and that the jinn marry the jinn. But there's no clear text to say it's prohibited. He said Imam Malik used to discourage it, and he more overly would dislike if a lady became pregnant by a jinn. Lady became pregnant by a man jinn who she's married to. Imam Malik would dislike that she would come out in front of the people. Shaykh Muqbil, he said the reason why, because if the people don't know that this relationship is going on, they're going to accuse her of zina. How did she get pregnant? She doesn't have a husband, meaning from the human beings. The only other conclusion is, oh, she's sleeping with somebody. She's making intercourse with a man that's not a husband. And this shows you that this is something that is not a new question if it goes back to Imam Malik, disliking this, and even going as far as to say a lady who's married to a jinn, who's pregnant by a jinn, that she does not come out. She shouldn't come out because people will accuse her and blame her for being a promiscuous lady, a lady who is Amra'atun Baghiya, a lady who has made illegal intercourse. Shaykh, he continued, Shaykh al-Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, also, that lady, jinn, who marries a man who's a human being, she has to have a wali. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that there is no nikah illa bilwali. In one narration, there's no marriage except with the attainment of a guardian, and there's no marriage contract without a guardian. He said so. The Prophet ﷺ, he also mentioned, وَسُلْطَانُ وَلِيُّ لِمَنْ لَا وَلِيُّ لَهَا, and that the one who's in charge asks for the wali of a person who does not have a wali. Meaning a lady goes to a place and none of her people are Muslim. Her father, her uncle, she has no brothers who are Muslim, no sons. She travels to a Muslim country to live. Then the one who's in charge, the king, the president, the prince who's acting on behalf of the king who's sickly or old, he becomes her wali, meaning that she can go to the courts and the courts can marry her as if they are her legal guardian. Shaykh said, and if that's not the case, then who's the wali for the lady who's a jinn who marries the man, a shaitan? He said, so you see the complications when you talk about doing this, although there's no clear-cut delil evidence to say that a man, human, should not marry a female jinn, and a Muslim lady should not marry a man jinn. Then the Shaikh says these are some of the obstacles and reasons that at least it's not advisable, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Last but not least, then the question, what happens if a man marries a lady and he does not see the sign of virginity? Alamatul bakara. Alamatul bakara means that a lady has something on her body that shows, okay, she has never been touched sexually before in her vagina. That's what they call the sign of virginity. Shaikh says, to begin with, every lady does not have this sign, alamatul bakara. People are different. He said that the ulama, they have mentioned and wrote in their books a lot of reasons the ladies might not have a sign of virginity. And most of the time they call this, in English they say that the lady has a type of thing in her private called a hymen. Like when you have something that's new, you have to unlock it, and you take the paper off and the tape is not just open. Well then, privates are made like that when it comes to ladies. Babies have to come out of the private. They must have a certain centimeters to open and dilate, and all of these type of issues that are connected to someone who has never had a baby nor have had intercourse before. So an old cultural way of many people from their countries is that every woman has that, and that's not true. And so the Shaikh first highlights that in Muqbil, that not every lady has one. Not every female has this type of part on her private that shows that she has not had relations, like a mark of a seal to be broken. The Shaikh said also, again, many scholars of Islam, they have said and wrote in their books, there are many reasons a lady might not have that. They said, number one, women are different. So some women are born with it, and or as little girls and they grow up to be women, and some don't. Just simple as that. Not every woman has what's called a lock or a hymen that shows, okay, some man has not touched her because her private is a certain way and like this. He said, number two, it could be an issue that something happened to her. He said, like for example, and this was, I said, subhanAllah. He said, like the young girl who was, she's not mukhallaf. She's not mukallaf, pardon me, that was pronunciation. Mukallaf. Mukallaf means she's not in puberty. When a person is mukallaf or mukallafa, that means they reach the time in their life that Allah is going to hold them accountable. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Rufi'a aqlam an thalatha, that the pen does not write what three groups of people or types of people do. One of them, the Prophet said, as-sabi. As-sabi means that person is ghayru mukallaf. They're not held accountable for things that they do with Allah. Parents might hold them accountable, but Allah doesn't hold them accountable. So Shaikh said that perhaps there's a case where someone is not the age of puberty, meaning the female. وَجَاءَ إِلَيْهَا شَابًا, and a young person comes and he does something to her. So that young girl, who's not the age or the time that she is responsible, she can't be blamed for that, meaning like the one who's of age, you can say she made zina, she made illegal intercourse, she lost her virginity like this. The Shaykh gave that as an example. So that young girl, if she grows up to get married, she might not have the seal or sign of virginity because when she was young, a young person around her age or a little older than her might have done something to her. And we know that this happens from youth imitating what they see. Now the world has devices, and they said one of the most used tools that they claim for sex education, which I don't know what curriculum they got, but for sex education, people use porn, which is ridiculous. So imagine what someone who's not at the time and age of puberty may know and see and want to try. So this is an example the Shaikh gave the young girl who's not at the time or age. She does not have a menses. She's not considered responsible. So therefore, if someone, a young boy, did something to break her seal of virginity, then later on when she gets married and the man says, hey, she doesn't have a seal of virginity, doesn't mean she made illegal intercourse. Doesn't mean she had a boyfriend or something she did sexually, which is the topic of the discussion. The man marries a lady and he sees she doesn't have a sign of virginity. Then the Shaikh said also, there may be a lady, a young lady that she lies. I'm going to my friends, or I'm going to the mall, but she goes somewhere else to meet with a boy or a young lover. He said that that lady, she doesn't have any fear of Allah. She will have intercourse, the Shaikh said, perhaps, then go to the doctor and get amaliyah, where they sew her up to make it look like, see, she's never been touched. She has the seal of virginity. It was broken, but we fixed it. Shaikh said so. You know, the Prophet told the men to marry the one who has the deen and character. If the lady has a fear of Allah, then she won't do those type of things. He said, these are some examples of why a female might not have a sign of virginity. That sometimes they do things and they may lose it out of injury. We've heard stories like that. Someone climbing on a fence or a wall, fall, subhanAllah. So the Shaikh said, in conclusion, the way to handle this, if a man marries a lady and he goes to have relations with her, and it looks like, hey, she doesn't have a seal of virginity, number one, give her husnul dhan. Think good of her. You don't have the right to say, she's not a virgin. She lost her virgin. She had sex. Your pastor offers a virgin, and she's somebody who was promiscuous. He said, what's your evidence? Because again, the scholars have written many books and many reasons that a female may not have a sign or a seal or a hymen to show she's a virgin. Doesn't mean she's a person who's lewd. Doesn't mean she's a person who made illegal intercourse. Doesn't mean you could say and judge she's not a virgin because she doesn't have a mark of virginity. He said this happened before, where a man married a lady, and he's talking about, of course, in Yemen. And he was, Shaikh said he was, Sukharan, he was, Sukaran, he was drunk. Version kind of Sukaran, drunk. So, because he's drunk, he marries the young girl, gets in there, start tripping, like having a physical and verbal fight. Then he rushes out to her family and says, hey, this girl doesn't have a sign of virginity. She's not a virgin. The father listened, went in there, killed the girl. Now we know this happens. Some people call it honor killing. Killed her. When the doctors did the autopsy, guess what? They found that she was a virgin. Had the seal of virginity as it relates to her pride. So she was one of the females that had that, but because the man was drunk, to him, I don't see it, this, that, or, another misconception for a lot of people from different countries. The first night, if the girl doesn't have, a lot of blood or any blood on the sheets, she's not a virgin. The Shaikh mentioned, some bleed more than others. Some bleed and some don't. So you can't say, okay, there's no blood, see, she wasn't a virgin. Can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So this, the Shaikh said, give her the benefit of the doubt, feel of Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Make sure you pick somebody from a righteous family that fears Allah, and know that not every, to begin with, from the origin of this question, every woman is not born, every female does not come in this earth with a sign of virginity, which they call the hymen on her vagina. And if a lady does not have it, a man has no right to assume or jump to conclusions or to accuse her or judge or rule. She was a person who lost her virginity prior to him. She was not a virgin. Allah musta'an. These are some of the benefits of the fiqh of Imam Abi Abdurrahman Muqbil bin Hadi Wadi'u with regards to his teachings, his question and answers. Many of them were recorded on the internet, many of them in the books that were written and transcribed, some written by him, some transcribed by students. These are some of the benefits from the Imam Abdul Rahman Muqbil bin Hadi Wadi'u. ونسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يوفقنا بخير والتوفيق. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us goodness and to give us that which is facilitation of that goodness by Him. ونسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يمن علينا علم نافع. We ask Allah to give us and to bless us with knowledge that is comprehensive. ونسأل الله تبارك وتعالى العمل به. We ask Allah to bless us to be able to apply that which we learn from the knowledge. ونسأل الله تبارك وتعالى خشى به منه تبارك وتعالى. We ask Allah to make it something to make us God-fearing of Him by the knowledge subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for our shortcomings. Anything I said of good is from Allah, and we praise Allah tabarak wa ta'ala for that. Anything from shortcomings and mistakes, then Allah is free from that. والله المستعان. ونسأل تبارك وتعالى أن يبارك في شيخنا مقبل وأن يجزيه عن الإسلام والمسلمين, to give the Shaykh a great reward for what he left for Islam and the Muslims. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبد الله ورسوله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. This is the second return of Muqbil night, the 5th of February 2021, the 24th of Jamaat al-Akhir, the second month of Jamaat al-Akhirah, which is the 24th night, and it's 1442 on the Hijri calendar. ونسأل تبارك وتعالى يتقبل منا وأن يوفقنا بما يحب الله ويرضاه. Ask Allah to accept from us and to make us in accordance with that which He is pleased with. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Any questions? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.